This is the Sunday Grill. Well, 4 out of 5 here fear stranger danger when their child plays outside. Compass Club by Coillte is a new after-school initiative to get kids back into nature by providing a fun foundation in outdoor skills and activities. This is one that's going to resonate with parents all over the southeast. Shane Stafford is the general manager for Coillte Compass Club, and he joins me now this morning. Good morning to you, Shane.
Good morning.
Like I said, you know, the minute you hear children and being outside, and you know, I even just think it's scary what we're faced with.
Yeah, well, I think for all parents, that's the initial piece that we have in our heads going, what can go wrong? And what we're trying to do with Compass Club is actually give parents an option that goes, here's how you can do this. Release of the children into the environment, get to know and understand what goes on in the forestry, and get to have fun while they're discovering and exploring, while under a supervised arrangement where we have at least 2 adult leaders who've been trained and Garda vetted with us.
And unfortunately, you know, I mentioned stranger danger, and it is something which over, particularly, I suppose, the last number of years, it's been highlighted by the media that, you know, there's no way around that. It's just because of events that have happened. Do you think, though, modern children are kind of somewhat deprived of the freedom that I think even I had when I was growing up? Because I don't think it's, you know, it was as kind of strict.
Absolutely. When, you know, even if you throw yourself back to, you know, 10, 15 years ago,
yes,
there was much more freedom for kids because there was far less noise on the media about the fact that things can go wrong. So parents weren't quite as hypersensitive to it. At this stage, we're all very, very, very worried that something is going to go wrong with our children. We're all very protective of them. We all love our kids, and that's the right way to be. But what we have to also realise is if we're overprotective, we don't allow those kids to actually make decisions for themselves. So they don't realise what's good and bad. They don't realise what's dangerous and what's a risk, because we make all those decisions for them. And that's why we're looking to bring the kids out so we can help them to make those decisions for themselves. We show them how to assess risks. Like, you know, if you're running in a forest, don't run if there's low branches. You know, mind the sticks, mind the trees, mind the woods that's in your way.
We were never told those things, were we?
No, because we all figured those out naturally. Quite frankly, in our day, we pretty much climbed a tree, fell out of it, and then realised that you shouldn't step on a rotten branch. Because kids don't experience that anymore.
There's research which shows that, I can't find it now, but I mean, there was one that came out which said that over 1 in 3 children have never climbed a tree or gone walking in a forest with friends. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's actually, the stats are actually, it's almost 50%, so it's 48 and 49% who have never gone into a forest with their friends for a walk, and they have never climbed a tree, which is quite horrific, because I know when I grew up in Wexford, certainly I climbed nearly every tree that was near me. I fell out of at least half of them. But you learn, and that's how we get the experiences. And as adults, we need to understand that the kids need to learn these things, or otherwise they become less able to cope in a modern environment. And
it's also, unfortunately, the world we live in hasn't lent itself to us sending our children outdoors. Like 47% of children in Leinster only spend 30 minutes or less playing outdoors every day. Less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, less than 30 minutes. So that's less than one episode of any cartoon or any programme they're watching on the Disney Channel or whatever else.
And even when you think about it from an exercise point of view, do you know,
there is just, it's a lack of movement, and this is where the obesity crisis is really kicking in. We're trying to address that by getting kids out, getting them active, because this is a life skill that they learn. They learn that by being outdoors, by being in nature, being in a forestry environment, actually that's a really great place to unwind, relax, and it's a skill that sticks with them for the rest of their lives. And
about being independent, becoming your own person. That's something that... Yeah.
One of the great things we have with this course is it's all underpinned by a thing called strengths-based education, and that's one approach to education that where we really focus in on what the child is really good at already, and amplify those strengths and those capabilities and abilities that the child has to help them understand what they're really good at.
So you've got Compass Club in Inistioge and Jenkinstown in Kilkenny, and also in Wexford. What are the kind of activities, or how does it run?
Our course is a 6-week programme for 2 hours, 1 afternoon a week for that 6 weeks. So it's 12 hours overall. And parents drop the children off to us at 3:45 in the afternoon, and they pick them up again at 5:45. During that 2 hours every week, then we take them off onto a different theme every school term. So the theme we're about to head into now will be including, it's called trackers. So it includes things like looking for habitats for where animals live, understanding the sort of environment they're in, understanding how you'd know if there's animals in the forest. Like most kids now don't understand that if they see a pine cone that's nibbled, that's probably a squirrel. And when you see the look of wonderment and awe because they're seeing it in their hands rather than seeing it on a YouTube video or hearing a teacher in the classroom talk about it, it just really brings it to life. And that's a key piece for us as well. All of our activities are mapped back to the PE and history, geography and science curriculum in schools. So we have a lot of our leaders are actually teachers in primary school or are outdoor experts. So they can really bring this to life for the kids, both from the on-site, in the forest feeling back into the education sphere as well.
And this is a term that I did not know existed. You'll have to explain it to me. Nature deficit disorder. Yeah,
nature deficit disorder is a term that's been around a few years now, and it's really come about because of the fact that kids are starting to arrive into school and they're just not as well adjusted as what we would have been. And it's because they're very much now focused onto almost like a technology or an indoor type environment. So when kids now go out to play or go to have fun with their friends, they tend to go to a venue. So they tend to go to an indoor play centre arena rather than going outside to play football, outside in the back garden, outside with their friends. So this nature deficit disorder is really getting to the heart of the fact that, look, we are seeing a generation now growing up that has obesity problems, has temperament and social issues, and that's all coming about through the research. They believe is all coming about from this lack of connection with nature
and spending time looking at screens. And
yeah, it's funny. One of the big fears that most parents have, including myself, is the amount of time that our children spend in front of a screen. If you take their school day, there's usually a big interactive whiteboard in the classroom. Their teachers are using those. Then they come home and they're watching TV. They're playing on iPads, playing on their mums and dads' phones. They go out for dinner in the restaurant in the evening or somewhere, and it's the same thing. Screens have become almost an extension of the kids' hands.
I was in a coffee shop recently and I walked by an aisle where there was predominantly families, and I'd say 4 out of the 5 of them had iPads or phones in front of them, because that's what you do now, isn't it?
But we all do it.
I know.
I'm not going to criticise anybody.
No, and I'm not
either.
Myself. It's just, we couldn't.
I'd be quite hypocritical, but that's what we do. But we've got to understand that when we have children coming to us and telling us that the forest smells like a Yankee candle, that's probably a problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We also have children who liken the activities we're doing in the forest to being like real world Minecraft or real world Sims, which is a great way of understanding from their perspective, where they're now seeing vloggers, they're now seeing online activity and spending time online as a completely different way than the way we grew up, and it's also a different way of consuming media and content that we grew up with.
But that mentality needs to be kind of addressed seriously.
We need to get a really good balance on it.
Is there an educational kind of emphasis on the Compass Club, or is it more about learning life skills and having fun?
The educational emphasis is really about that, learning life skills, so learning coping mechanisms and learning techniques that stick with you for life. But also then, because of the fact we have it linked back into the primary school curriculum, what we're seeing is children coming out and exploring, discovering and trialling things that they've learned about in the classroom. So it brings them to life. So there's no point in sitting in your classroom learning about, the leaves falling off the trees in the autumn, when you can actually go outside and experience it as well. So it brings the classroom environment to life.
Right, okay. Well, it sounds like it's just perfect for anybody that is wondering how they can get their kids out of the sitting room and into the forest and learn to play outside. Yeah,
and that's one of the really fantastic things that we're seeing right around the country, is that parents who are right now struggling to get their child outside to play and have fun, and potentially almost begging them to go for a walk in the forest once or twice a year. We're now seeing that flip right around, where the child is coming home from Compass Club and then begging and pleading to go back at the weekend with mum and dad to show them where they were, what they did, where they did it and what they made. So one of the things we do is we make clay faces, and those clay faces get put up on the trees in the forest where we're having our Compass Club. And those clay faces will disintegrate and disappear back into the earth over time. But for the first kind of 2 weeks that they're there, they will be there. So the kids love bringing it back and showing mum and dad what they created and giving them a full sense of what it is.
Well, compassclub.ie is the name of the website for anybody that wants to check it out. Shane, you're absolutely doing something right. So keep up the good work and continued success.
Thank you.
On the